First things first, Aeris, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, how are you?
I'm alright, thank you. So before we start talking about the music that you've been making lately, I'd like to jump back to the beginning quickly. Uh, do you remember the first album you ever bought?
Do I remember the first album I ever bought? No, I don't. I don't. I remember the first album that I was actively listening to, and it was just a collection of like the greatest hits of like the Drifters,
Okay.
and that was kind of, yeah, that was kind of my intro to albums, I believe.
Where did you find this album?
I found it in my uncle's drawer.
Okay.
Yeah, he just had it there, and it was like a cassette. So I just used to just play a cassette, so it was like Walkman, and yeah, that was probably the first one.
What did you hear in their music, in the music of the Drifters?
I heard melodies, and the melodies were always very, like, they were very distinctive. I could tell it was a Drifter song just by hearing the melodies, and the instrumentation was consistent throughout a lot of their songs. So I feel like they had a signature sound, and it stood out to me, and that's kind of when I realised, like, wow, like each artist has a different blueprint, and each artist, kind of, yeah, they're unique, or they can be.
I don't know what age this was, but were you singing yourself at this point?
Yeah, I was, and I was singing those songs.
Okay.
That I was probably maybe 5, I guess, 4, 5. It depends. I don't know completely off the top of my head, but
Right.
I'd say around 4 or 5.
What, especially in the years that followed, what role did music play for you?
Music was. It was an escape, I guess. Like it sounds like a lot of people have probably said, "Oh, music's an escape for me." Sounds a little bit cliche, but it really was. Not in the sense that I would just listen to music and I'd feel like I'm in a different space. Sometimes that would be the case, but oftentimes it was like if I was bored at home, I'd sing or I'd listen to music. I was quite academic growing up, but I didn't really enjoy school. In terms of the lessons, I never really wanted to be in lessons. I always wanted to be out, like, making music. So a lot of the times it got me out of my lessons as well, because I'd go and I'd be at choir practice, or I'd have a show like with the school choir, or I don't know, or I'd be like rehearsing. So a lot of the time it actually got me out of the lessons I didn't want to be in. So yeah, I'd say it was an escape, literally and figuratively. Yeah.
Because I read something about you. I believe you grew up in Yorkshire, but then at some point you moved away to your father, to live with your father. Is that part of the escape, where music kind of came to you? Kind of escaping a certain situation and then delving into music?
Well, I was kind of already in it.
Okay.
I was kind of already in it. Like I was always a part of, like, as I said before, I was a part of choirs, and I wasn't really writing when I made the transition from Yorkshire to London. I wasn't really writing at that point, but I was always listening, and I was always singing at that point. I guess once I got to London, it was kind of a new city, it was a new space, and something that did connect me with a lot of people around me, and allowed me to fill my free time was writing and performing. So in that sense, it was an escape at that point, but I wouldn't say initially it was.
Okay. Do you remember the first song that you wrote that you were proud of?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually showed it to anyone. Well, maybe I have. Every now and again I'll show it to people. But I wrote it in my bedroom, I believe. I had a copy of Fruity Loops. I don't use Fruity Loops anymore, but I had a copy of Fruity Loops, and like just a really cheap dynamic microphone and a cheap mixer, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna write a song. So I think I ripped an instrumental off of YouTube, and I just wrote to it there and then. And I think it's actually still on SoundCloud now, but I will never give anybody the link, because.
When you write a song like that, when it's, especially when you have that feeling like I'm writing a song now, can you describe that? What is the drive in that moment?
Well, I feel like all of my songs are very emotionally charged, so I usually have to be feeling an intense feeling to be able to start writing. And then even sometimes when I'm feeling like really intense, I can't write. Like sometimes I'll feel like I really feel like I have to write now, and I'll sit down and it just doesn't come. But sometimes like I'll feel that emotion, and I'll sit down and I'll write, and I'll find a little pocket. I don't know what the pocket is. I don't know like if there's anything in like physics or like psychology, but sometimes I just find a pocket and like it's so easy to write, but then oftentimes it's not so easy to write.
And in that sense, because you write about emotions a lot, about love and kind of the other side of it. So, in that sense, what you describe, is it taxing? Is it taxing for you to write a song?
It is, yeah, because as I said, I'm a very emotional, I'm a very personal writer. I do have to go through hardship to be able to. I feel like I go through hardship, and that's where my best songs come from. So it is quite taxing. It's very emotionally taxing, and like emotional taxation is also quite physically draining as well.
Right.
So it is, yeah, it is.
So with let's go with Best Dressed Man then. With that song, do you remember what instigated that song? What?
Yeah, I was scrolling through Instagram.
Okay.
I was scrolling through Instagram, and like the thing about Best Dressed Man is like a lot of people take it literally as in, oh, I just want to be the best dressed man, as in like I want to have the best clothes, I want to have the best appearance. But to me, it was a little bit more. I want to be the best dressed man, as in I feel like there's more than physical appearance. There's lots of components that come with appearance, and I kind of want to be the best dressed man in lots of instances, not just in what I wear, just in, you know, the way I interact with people, you know, the way I go about my day. So Best Dressed Man. I was scrolling through Instagram, and I can't remember exactly what I saw, but that's what triggered it.
But that's interesting that you mentioned Instagram then, because that kind of allows us these days to create this image of being the perfect person all the time. So especially, well, you're a young guy and heading into this music industry. How do you feel about kind of that social media aspect of it?
You know, I'm getting better with social media. I was never a big fan before, but I do understand the importance of it sometimes when it comes to connecting with people and interacting with supporters. I guess it's important. So I do use it. Like I feel like you can kind of create your relationship. I feel like if you become too reliant on social media, it can be damaging. And also, if you don't use it enough, sometimes it can also be damaging, because a lot of people, I know a lot of the demographic that I'm kind of playing to and interacting with are quite present on social media. Right. So, yeah.
Because I believe you toured with Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. And first, do you remember kind of meeting her and how that went? Yeah,
that was like, I think I first met her at the London show. I feel like followed each other on Instagram before the tour, but we didn't really speak before the tour. And then I met her at the London show, and it was kind of just like, I think I just walked in, they was doing their sound check. I didn't see them after that, because obviously you get in your zone in your dressing room, and then I just met her and her brother Phineas after the show and just introduced myself, and they were great.
And she obviously really liked your music. Did she tell you what she liked about it?
Not personally, no. Not personally. She hasn't been like, oh, I really like this, but I don't know. I guess like you can kind of pick up on what people like about the music, I guess, from what they say.
Because you mentioned the reason why I bring her up is that you mentioned the kind of those crowds, and obviously she has quite a crowd. So what was it for you? I'm sure you've performed a lot, but being in a different context maybe to play those.
I don't know. I feel like with Billie and her team, they're just so engaging. Her shows are just so engaging. They're so energetic, and I don't know how she managed to do it, but her fans are so interactive. Like they just care so much. Because I feel like she's a very caring person herself, and that kind of just washes off on them as well. So just going into them, I just felt like instantly accepted from the whole team, from the fans, and for me that was a big boost, because it was kind of like, when you're on your foot, for me it was the first time I'd travelled around Europe to play. So when I was kind of put into a team that was so kind of accepting, it just made it so much easier.
Because I believe, now I have to say her name right, but Grace Carter, you'll be playing with her here in Amsterdam,
yeah, that's in I believe like 3 weeks' time.
And tonight you're playing as well. So this year, maybe year and a half, is this kind of you paying your dues, you honing your craft, as it were?
It is. I feel like, obviously I've performed before, but it's only now that I'm having bodies of work and like complete sets to play. So it's interesting to see how people react to a whole set instead of 1 or 2 songs, like maybe on a support slot. And I feel like one thing we have been doing on this tour is kind of just working with the placement of different songs and seeing what works where and when. And for who, because obviously a lot of crowds interact differently. Say, for example, I remember we played Milan a at the beginning of this tour, and that was completely different to say, was it 2 nights ago when we was playing in Hamburg? Totally different crowds, totally different demographic, and they each reacted differently to different songs. So I guess as an artist, sometimes I kind of have to work on the fly, and if we're on stage and I'll suddenly say, okay, no, play this chorus at another time, or maybe let's not do this song now, we'll switch it. So you kind of have to kind of work as you go and hone in, yeah.
And well, do you like touring? And is that obviously it's something you think about when you're starting? So so how have you found it to be?
It's one of the favourite parts of my job. I just love getting around and meeting people and interacting with people that are supporting the music and seeing different cities, because I've realised each city has its own character, and it's interesting like going about and learning about different cities. One thing I have noticed is recently is McDonald's is in each city, each McDonald's has a different menu. I don't know why, and I don't know why in London we don't have chicken wings on the menu, but Hamburg had chicken wings. Amsterdam, no, they also had like weird like McFlurries where you like make your own McFlurry. We've never had that in London. So yeah, touring's a big part. If only it's not only for McDonald's, but that is a big part of it. Yeah.
Can I assume then, because you've released your first EP, can I assume that you're working towards an album?
It hasn't actually released yet, I don't believe, has it? It's not out yet. It's not out yet. We've released
Mumbai Island Gardens.
Yeah, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. It's very soon. But yeah, of course you have to work towards an album, because bodies of work are kind of. I feel like it's an opportunity to showcase yourself as a complete artist, I guess. So, yeah.
With that in mind, then, and with looking towards the EP as well, what do you want people to kind of take away from it? What do you want people to experience when they play it, or when you play it for them?
I don't have anything in particular I want people to experience. I just want people to experience what they want to experience from it. Because I feel like it's important to sometimes listen to music with an open mind and take from it what you will. Because I know whenever I listen to music, I don't like it personally when I'm about to listen to a song and someone says, this is why I like it, you should like it because of this. I just want people to just listen, knowing that I've approached writing it and creating it with the team with an open mind. So just listen to it with an open mind and take from it what you will.
Fair enough. In terms of because earlier you mentioned you kind of need life experience to write. So what have you experienced lately that will end up kind of on songs, or is that something you can share?
Not really. I feel like I kind of have to process it myself, and then I share it through songs, which is why it's in my job.
Well, that's an interesting point, because that's one thing I hear a lot. Is the reason why I don't like talking about it. Is I'll sing it.
Yeah.
With that in mind, then Mumbai Island Gardens. That title, where did it come from?
The Mumbai Island Gardens. But Island Gardens is a place that's close to where I used to live in London. I don't live there anymore. And I don't know. I found it like a place of refuge. I'd travel there. I'd just go there at night. I used to just sit there, and that's when I used to do a lot of thinking. That's a lot of contemplating. And when I said I need to process different experiences, I'd do it there a lot of the time. Then I'd go home, and then I'd kind of just draw on what I'd kind of thought about whilst I was sat there. And just for some reason, I just felt like there was a different aura every time the moon was out. Every time the moon was out, there was kind of a stronger pull to the place. So I kind of just thought, the moon by Island Gardens, because I don't know, it's on the river in London. So when there is a full moon, it's very prominent. You can see it because when you look from the side that I used to sit on, it's literally just greenery. You could only see Greenwich Park, so it was kind of like time had almost like gone back. Right. There was no skyscrapers, there was nothing. There was just a hill, and then you'd see the moon. So, yeah, that's where the title came from.
When was the last time you were up there?
I haven't been there for a while. Okay. I haven't been there for a while.
Do you remember the last song that kind of came to your mind when you were there?
Yeah, the last song that kind of came to my mind there was one I just released, which is Running Through 3 AM.
Okay. What sparked it?
What sparked that song? What sparked that song? There was a lot. That one's kind of like, that's all over the place, that song. There's a lot. I drew on a lot of things to come up with that one. Yeah. I can't really put my finger on it. I kind of just accumulated lots of different things.
Well, can it start with sounds and that, something like that as well?
It started with, I remember there's a lyric in the song that's like, bird's eye view, look down on flashing lights. I'd share my view, but she's afraid of heights. It kind of, I just saw flashing lights at one point and I was like, there's a problem, because it was a police car. And I thought, well, you only ever see flashing lights usually when there's trouble. And like, that was my observation. I'd love to share that observation with her, but maybe she's not able to understand my observation. And sometimes that's the case when, like, with personal relationships, one person will have an observation and it's not always compatible, and then you have a problem. So you see flashing lights in two instances, and that's what it was.
Final question then, when you write a song like this and a line like this, is there a specific person you have in mind, or is it kind of a combination of multiple things?
A lot of the time I have a specific person. It's not always the same person, but most of the time there's a specific person or there's a specific goal that I'm like kind of pondering when I'm trying to get a song. Yeah.
And do you know if these people have heard the songs?
Yeah, I know they've heard it, yeah.
And what is their reaction?
Tears sometimes, but I'll never write a song and go, this song's about you. And even sometimes maybe I'd use a name in a song, or it seems direct. Sometimes it's not that direct. But when a person's kind of feels it's about them, even if it's not, there's been tears, there's been laughing, there's been smiles. Because I don't know, I just kind of freely write, and they just kind of receive it how they receive it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.